I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm calling the meeting of the Oldsmar City Council, Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, to order. Before we get started, a couple of things I wanted to point out. As you all know, of course, we're dealing with the pandemic, so we have everybody spread out. We're asking everybody to wear a face mask unless they're actually speaking. And when you're out moving around, please make sure you keep your face mask on. I should also point out that Vice Mayor Linda Norris is on the phone. She's calling in. We're, via the state order, we're permitted to allow some folks to call in who might feel it's in their best interest to do so. With that, the next two items on the agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance, which will be led by our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trask. Please all rise.
Heavenly Father, send down your blessing on this meeting of the City Council and upon the individual members who comprise it. Give the council members a clear sense of duty and lead them to the faithful discharge of the same. Direct them in their deliberations at this meeting so that all things may be done for the health, safety, and welfare of the people we serve. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Citizens Open Forum. We have a few rules. We ask that you don't speak longer than 5 minutes. When you get up, please state your name and your complete address, including your city. We don't assume that you're from here. And I don't believe, we do have public hearing tonight. What item would it be?
Here we do.
Two of them.
We do have a couple of public hearings, item 10 and 11 on the agenda. And if you're here to speak about that, we ask that you hold those comments until that time. At this time, I'll start on this side of the room. Does anybody have anything I'm going to ask you to go last, okay? I'll come back to you. Do we have anybody on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room? Sir.
Gentlemen, ladies, thank you again for the opportunity to address the City Council. Mr. Mayor, I delivered yesterday morning at 8 o'clock.
Can I get you to state your name and address for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. Walter M. Allison III, 3675 Shore Boulevard, Oldsmar, 34677.
Thank you.
All right. I delivered 4 letters yesterday morning at 8 o'clock for you, Mr. Knapp, Ms. Donnelly, and Lisa Hill in the Water Department. And I was hoping to get a meeting prior to this today, but it didn't happen. So I'm here to make sure that you get the message, and I'm addressing this strictly to you, because you're the person that obviously can make decisions. It says, to the Honorable Mayor, Eric Seidel, I made a brief presentation at the City Council meeting on July 21st, 2020, relative to my water bill of $683.72. Until that point, I felt city personnel were genuinely concerned and wanted to find a resolution to the problem. Why is this bill a problem? Number one, I was told by Lisa Hill, customer service supervisor, since Hurricane Irma in September 2017, my water bill had only been estimated 2 times, which was May and June of 2020. Over the past 35 months, September of 2017 through April of 2020, I have paid $2807.62 for an average monthly bill of $80.37. Over the last 2 months, I have been billed $851.89 for an average monthly bill of $425.95 a month. My bill in May was $93.55, and according to Ms. Hill, was estimated. My bill in April was $93.55 and was not estimated. Number 4, my bill of $683.72 in June was referred to as a makeup bill, which tells me that the City of Oldsmar was trying to make up for errors in reading meters and billing customers, especially in West Oldsmar, which is considered outside the city. I remind you, we are assessed a 25% surcharge for our water services. I have refuted the standard reasoning of leaky toilets, faucets, broken sprinklers, and water lines. I have now been offered a new excuse, water used on a pallet of sod to correct a drainage problem in my front yard. I can easily refute this contention that I used 51,000 gallons on the sod in the month of June. Number 6, in a meeting with Felicia Donnelly last week, I was met with a hardline attitude of the meter was checked, the water was used, and I would have to pay. The same person had called me the day before saying she thought she had a resolution, but could not tell me what it was until she ran it by the city attorney. I still do not know what may have been offered, as she said it was rejected by the attorney. I would like to meet with you, Lisa Hill, and Ms. Donnelly to address my concern at City Hall, where we would not be under a 5-minute time constraint and you would not have to shut me down as you did at the last council meeting. I've been a customer and I have 39 years, but it's actually 40. I purchased my property in April of '80. So I've been a customer of Oldsmar for 40 years and I must find a resolution. In today's world with COVID-19, unemployment, rising costs for food and necessities such as water, I am in hopes that you will be in a more conciliatory mood and admit that the city created this problem and the citizens you serve cannot be expected to shoulder the full impact. I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Walt Allison. I think I timed it. That should have taken 3 minutes and 40 seconds, okay?
Very good.
I have, attached to that was a chart. In 2017, there was 4 months, $335.43 at an average monthly cost of $67.08. In 2018, 12 months, $938.09 at an average monthly cost of $78.17. 2019, 12 months at a cost of $1,075.93 at a monthly cost of $89.80. The first 4 months of 2020, I was billed $518.83 for an average monthly bill of $86.47. The past 2 months, I was billed $851.89 for an average of $425.95. I was told that the one bill was a makeup bill. I feel like this is a revenge bill. My 5 minutes is up. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else on this side of the room? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name's Devin Garrity. Address is 3701 Shore Boulevard, Oldsmar, just down the road from Walt. My question really is more around, I had a huge bill as well, but on these makeup bills, I guess my trying to understand when you do a makeup bill and they do an estimate over a couple months time frame, they come back and let's just say that this time frame right now is going into when obviously you're going to use more water because the heat started coming and everything else. And then they go and they do the bill and they true it up that third month or whatever it is. And because we're on a tiered system, which to be quite frank, I never knew, and to be honest, very few people that I've talked to seem to even know that we're on a tiered system. You could then go into that following month and you true that bill up, and now all of a sudden you had, say, it was a $100 bill, and we trued it up, and then there was more usage in those previous 2 months for whatever reason. It doesn't matter if it was a leak, pool, whatever the reason is. Now all of a sudden, because we're on a tiered system, we're gonna be paying a higher rate for that final month. And I think that's, to me, a lot of this stuff, we can go back and forth, the water usage, this and that, but on a tiered system, when you do an estimation, and then you expect to put that onus on the customers, that to me is where I kind of part ways and go, something's wrong with this system. If we do an estimation, then the following month should be billed at that customer's lowest rate, regardless of the fact if we get billed at 25% higher rate, or whatever the lowest consumption is on that tier system, the following month when they do the true up should be based, in my mind, in what would be fair on that lowest consumption as opposed to that higher rate. I mean, my bill went up massively. And, at least, and I dug into it, we found out some of the reasons why, and I can appreciate that. And in speaking with, I think it was Amy in the office, we came to that resolution, like, look, we're gonna bill you at whatever your lowest rate was. I can dig into the other stuff, but at least I thought that was a fair part. But I think what's happened to a lot of customers out there is that no one understands this, is to me. And then I think, like I said, you've got that part that's happening with all that, and now all of a sudden that rate's gone up so much higher. And that onus, especially now when everybody got all these other issues going on, has been put on the customers out there, and no one even realizes that in general. Maybe a few of us do. Now, I certainly do now, but that to me is I'd like to get some feedback on what is going on with that and how that can be addressed moving forward.
Yeah, and what I would say to you is, while it may not happen in the timeline in which you would like it to, that we are working on that. I think the true up is, it's a matter of reading the meter, right?
Right. Yep.
Last time we read it, it was at this, we estimated it was going to be this, we estimated it was going to be this, then we came and read it. And as I've said before, and I think it was a correct decision, we didn't send our meter readers out when COVID first hit, and we didn't want to put them at risk or our customers at risk of coming in contact. And, think about it. They see one person, they say hi, 3 doors down, they spread it down there.
Yep,
I mean,
understood.
so that was a good decision. But the true up is, whatever we last read it at, and when we read it again, what did we not bill for of what was actually used, right? But to your point, as it relates to the tiered system, I agree with you.
Okay.
I think that we're looking for the way to go about resolving that so that it's fair.
Right. And I think that's what anybody ever asks, is just, it be fair.
Yeah.
So,
And so, it doesn't normally happen as quick as you'd like. The frustration sometimes in coming from the private sector and working in the public sector as an elected official is understanding that there's a process that we have to go through with checks and balances. It's other people's money. And so we're still in that process. We're gonna have some discussion about it at the end of the meeting tonight.
Okay.
You're welcome to stay or watch the tape tomorrow, because it's probably gonna be a while from now. But we're still working on it, and so we're not insensitive to it. But I think that's a legitimate concern.
yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else on this side? Would it be in poor taste if I said, boy, I wish I had a glass of water right now?
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Mike Boylan.
Mike's Weathers page.
That's right, Mike's Weather Page. Local here, Oldsmar. Address 576 Lake Cypress Circle, Oldsmar, Florida. So I'm here tonight just to support the golf cart, whatever you guys call it, discussion you guys are having on using them on the north side where I live. Few points. I'm sure the resolution was passed when the south side was a lot busier than the north side. We have a lot of communities now where I live. I live in the preserve at Cypress Lakes. Have a family. My mother-in-law lives in Dunedin, and my mom and dad live in Palm Harbor. So I know the coolness and what it brings to a small town to have that ability to have golf carts. And very successful Dunedin, very successful in Palm Harbor. And I think with our school, which both kids went to Forest Lakes, and having Walmart and any other businesses that might pop up, having that ability to use the golf carts on the north side would be awesome. And connect our communities a little better, and just all the cool stuff they offer with Florida. So I'm here to support whatever the south side has to give it to us on the north side, because we matter too.
The north side matters too.
Yeah, that's right. So, but that's it. I just, my business, Mike's Weather Page, I'm located here, and I feel like I got a lot of pull. I did a change.com, and we had 363 supporters, and I just shared this on my personal page, but we did get most residents local, 363, and it was called Allow Golf Carts on North Side. So there is support, and I feel like I'm here representing them. So thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll be here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Anybody else on this side of the room?
How you guys doing?
Good.
Unfortunately, one of Mike's neighbors, so we like to have fun together on our golf carts, and just wanted to say, I support, what Mike was saying about how the neighborhoods, like the community, we friends and family in other parts of the neighborhood in the Woods subdivision, and we like to, go back and forth with the families and the different, restaurants in the local area, and we local business owner off of Douglas Road, so it'd be convenient going back and forth, and we're just here and to show support for it, and we feel it'd be a good add to the north side. So.
Be sure to tell us your name and address.
Jeff Rexroth, and live at 581 Lake Cypress Circle, and I think
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you also. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have anybody else on this side of the room? If not, I'm going to come back to our poet laureate. All right, who's got homework done?
All right, my name is Amanda, 135 East Lake Club Drive. This is the last time I can say that my address is a poem. Can everyone hear me okay through the mask? Okay, perfect. So last time I challenged you all to go on a ginkgo, which is a Japanese custom to go for a walk and then absorb nature and write a poem about it. And the challenge was to go on a walk either real, tangible around Oldsmar or virtually, and to write a poem or a haiku about that experience. So who here has a poem for me?
All right, I'm going to start with,
should.
I'm going to start with Councilman Saraki this time.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So anyways, Amanda, I know this is your last time. I just want to say thank you so much. You have touched me so much with bringing us to do poems. I haven't done poems since high school. And I just want you to know that you are a special person, and I want to thank you before I read this. Thank you so much for what you've done for the City Council and the City of Oldsmar.
Thank you so much.
So anyways, I've never done a haiku, and I've decided to write about a place that I visit very often. Because when I go there, it makes me feel very special and it brings me down. So I want to read this, and thank you again. The raging waters creates mist that wets your face. Proud Niagara Falls. How's that?
Boom.
Poetry stuff.
All right, let's, Councilmember Gannon.
You will be so missed, Amanda. Thank you for all of your contributions. Thank you for educating us and educating all of the millions who watch at home. And thank you for continuing the poetry group at the library and for kind of broadening our horizons and forcing everybody to get a little outside their comfort zone, which is where we grow. And I think that more poems by council have been, completed this
think you're
time
right.
than ever before. And I think it's because of your enthusiasm and your commitment to the art. And you are a fantastic individual, and I look forward to getting regular updates about
gosh, thank you.
what comes next. So my haiku tonight, I have my oldest child, he's about to start elementary school, and PK3. So it's kind of like elementary school. I had to buy a lunchbox, so that qualifies. But in today's environment, I couldn't really escape that. So here we go. Sweltering summer, an elementary school, frigid before the virus.
Ooh,
There you go.
Deep.
thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Well, all right. That's nice. Councilman Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. Amanda, I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you've done here as part of being our poet laureate. I can't tell you how many times I sat out in the audience before coming up here and was, itching for the opportunity to be able to hopefully participate. And thankfully, I did get to write a couple before your departure. So again, just wanted to say thank you. My haiku, I've been very busy at work, and we've expanded our building. And so recently I was outside walking around our building looking to expand again. So this will kind of be along that theme of an outdoor walk. Could it be again? Another structure rises. More work for me. Yay.
Good, all right.
I like it.
All right, Vice Mayor, you ready to go?
Well, those were great, guys. I do have a question. Are we expressing appreciation at this time as well, or is that agenda item number 1?
That's on the agenda.
Okay, so if I had a dog, I would say the dog ate my homework. But the truth is I did not have the due date correct, so it was me that made the mistake, not my imaginary dog. So I feel terrible that I do not have a haiku, Amanda. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But I do have comments to express, and I'll wait for that agenda item.
Very good. All right. So, the nice thing about being mayor is that sometimes well within the rules, might I add, to our legal counsel, you can change the assignment. Okay? So I changed the assignment a little bit, and I'm just going to read it, and I think you'll get the picture. A special lady to Oldsmar. She always has a smile that lights up the room. She shares her words and wisdom so cheerful, no gloom. She adds to our culture and does so with style. And when we forget our homework, she forgives us without trial. Our poet laureate is moving on in life to bigger and better things. I hope she knows we will always appreciate her as she takes flight with her very special wings.
No, you're gonna make me
That's
cry. Thank you. You're gonna make me cry. So I have written my last poem to present to you all. When I was first voted in as Poet Laureate, I read the poem Good Morning Oldsmar. So I thought it only fitting that my last poem here would be called Good Night Oldsmar. Sunset paints the backyard tree in exhaled golden hour. Creatures return to their places beneath the rooted bower. From the third-story balcony I see birds to nests and squirrels to drays. This is the beginning of the end of this day. Today has told a story, and tomorrow will as well, and yet they will be as different as the calls of each whippoorwill. The sun gives one last glint of light before making way for the stars, and the wind whispers to the twilight, "Have a good night, Oldsmar." And of course, I can't leave you without a challenge. So this challenge is one that has no due date. It has no expiration date. My challenge to you is just to always keep an eye out for poetry, because poetry can be found anywhere.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Now, you're
you.
going to stick around for a little bit, right?
Am I, yes.
Thank you.
Am I standing here? Am I going back there?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go.
okay, thank you.
It'll be a little bit, just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Let's see, next item on the agenda is the community minute.
All
Will be
right.
announced by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
Road construction alert, a Florida Department of Transportation road repaving project is anticipated to begin soon, like this month. This project will repave Tampa Road from Curlew Road to St. Petersburg Drive. For FDOT project information and to sign up to receive alerts, check out city news at myoldsmar.com. And the mayor has a water challenge. The Mayor Sedell is asking residents to take part in the annual Wyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation running August 1st. So it's already started. Go ahead and get out there and sign up, and it goes to August 30th. For pledging, residents can win many prizes. Visit mywaterpledge.com and enter Oldsmar for your city location. And then, Mayor, can I ask you for some advice?
Sure.
Yeah, my mask is boring and basic. It's cramping my style, and just it's ruining my reputation as a hip chick. What can I do?
Well, funny you should ask that. I have some advice and a challenge for you. Well, here, I think we got it on tape. Why don't you go ahead and... Hi, I'm Oldsmar Mayor Eric Seidel, and on behalf of the Oldsmar City Council, we're excited to launch the Oldsmar Face-Off Contest to encourage our residents to wear proper face masks or coverings over the next 5 weeks. Each council member will present a weekly challenge with a different theme, unique to them. You are encouraged to take photos of yourself, you and your family, while wearing proper face masks. So this is how this works. You can email your photographs to info@myoldsmar.com, or you can go to one of our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and upload it with the hashtag Oldsmar Face-Off Challenge. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and let's take a moment to thank the businesses who've contributed to make this event a little bit more exciting with prizes. We've got Flamestone, Beechwood, Salt Rock, Empowered Adventures, which is going to be a real fun one, and Casa Cosenza. All of them are great restaurants, great businesses, and we appreciate their help and support and making this face mask challenge for us a little bit more fun. Now you can either go old school, where you get an old traditional one, and I made a smiley face on mine, and I promise I am smiling underneath. Or you could go a little bit more patriotic. This is one of my favorites, as a matter of fact. Or my very favorite, the City of Oldsmar logo mask. Whatever you decide, have a great time doing this. Let's all get together and promote this in a fun way. I can't wait to see your photographs start to get uploaded. Let's go do this together to help keep all of our neighbors safe. Have fun and good luck. Did that give you some advice?
I feel much better already, thank you.
All right.
Good.
That's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Our Oldsmar Face-Off Challenge, we're kicking off. And Vice Mayor will be the first one up to announce what the challenge is. It's going to be announced, I think, Wednesday. I'm not sure which day it is. It's coming up soon, so look out for that. And on social media, we're going to have some fun with it. A nice way to promote wearing a face mask, keeping your neighbors safe, and all that other good stuff. Good report. I just saw that video about 5 minutes ago.
That was awesome.
That was very good, Mayor.
All right. All right, next item on the agenda is approval of additional new agenda items. New items 1 and 17 are new to our agenda. The chair will, is there anybody who wishes to pull either item? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to accept.
So move.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, awards and recognition. All right, see, that wasn't long. So our first item is to express council appreciation to Amanda Butler for all that she's done. If you didn't figure it out, she's moving on to bigger and better things, and she's going to be leaving the city of Oldsmar, but she has certainly made quite a contribution while she's here. And so we decided that it would be fitting that the city pass a resolution, and I will not read it by title only, I'll read the whole resolution. This is Resolution 2020-23, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar expressing gratitude for Amanda Butler, Poet Laureate, and providing effective date. Whereas Amanda Butler, Oldsmar Poet Laureate, captured its spirit, and whereas Good Morning Oldsmar, awakened poet rumbles, sleeping deep within. And whereas Butler's heartfelt words called upon the community for participation. And whereas the smallest of texts can become magnificent, alluring haikus. And whereas poetry defines us as we in turn create with gentle prodding. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Oldsmar, Florida, in session duly and regularly assembled as follows. 1, Section 1, that the gratitude and appreciation of the City of Oldsmar, the Oldsmar City Council, and its community for the service and passion of Amanda Butler, its Poet Laureate, shall be spread upon the minutes in perpetuity. That this resolution become effective immediately upon adoption. Passed and adopted by the City of Oldsmar, City Council, Florida, the Oldsmar City Council, City of Oldsmar, Florida, this 4th day of August 2020, and it is signed by all the council members and our official charter officers. Let me present this to you. There was no way we were letting you leave without showing a little bit of gratitude. There was no way we were letting you leave without showing a little bit of gratitude. We just appreciate you. It's added a lot of, I've said, it's added a lot of class and always starts our meeting right. You know, sometimes folks come and they have a reason to share their opinion that may not always be the nicest, and then you come up there and you just reset the mood. So we're going to miss you. We know you'll be successful in your future endeavors. So let me present this to you.
Thank you so much.
Get a photo op. Oh, I don't have my face mask on. Here, up.
Stand a little.
Stand a little. Anything you want to add before you go?
This has been such an honor, and this experience has been absolutely unforgettable. And I will always remember being able to represent the city of Oldsmar through poetry. And, you know, for once in my life, I'm at a loss for words. So thank you.
Very nice.
I so miss you reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" at the tree lighting.
Vice Mayor, do you have something you wanted to add?
I sure would. Thank you, Mayor. Amanda, I am sorry that I am not there in person to see this. And the part of the resolution that I liked the best was that you have captured the spirit of Oldsmar. You've just brought you've brought a touch of class, and you've added to our growing culture. And you've guided me, because I never thought I had it in me to write a poem, and I still have problems with the haikus, but I'm feeling better about the poem, so I appreciate that. Well, somewhat poetic. So I just wanted to say that you will definitely be missed, and I'm going to take that new challenge on, and I'm going to keep my eye out for poetry. But most of all, good luck, and wherever you are moving to, whatever city, whatever you and your husband are moving on to, they're lucky, and we are going to miss you. So Godspeed, girl.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
You deserve the extra time there, so.
Indeed.
Well, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda, we have 2 Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengosh Awards. And to explain that, here is a familiar face, our former mayor.
The Homer Brunson and Ward Schreckengosh Award was instituted in 1991, and what it was for, it was for one of our workers here in the city that was chosen by their peers to win the Ward Schreckengosh Homer Brunson Award. And what the award is, it serves 2 purposes. One, to recognize an outstanding worker here that works for the city of Oldsmar. And the other, what it serves is that Ward Schreckengosh and Homer Brunson were both council members here in the city of Oldsmar. Ward Schreckengosh served as mayor for 16 years. His last year on the council serving was 1970. I had the privilege of serving with him on his last year. And Homer Brunson served 11 years as a council member and 1 year as a mayor. And this serves 2 purposes: to honor Ward Schreckengosh and Homer Brunson, and to honor one of the incredible workers we have in the city of Oldsmar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope he can hear us. All right. So I had the honor of presenting one of these tonight, which is kind of unusual, but you'll probably understand why, because we kind of keep some of our departments separated a little bit. So I got this honor. So let me go ahead and read from the nomination form. I am pleased to nominate Kathy Horvath, Deputy City Clerk, for the first quarter 2020 Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengosh Award. Kathy brings valuable benefit to the people of Oldsmar, as well to her fellow coworkers. Kathy's attitude is always positive, and she's extremely helpful in any given circumstance that may arise within the clerk's office. Kathy continually demonstrates a willingness to assist, and her leadership skills aid in helping the city clerk's office whenever Ann is out of the office. That's for sure. There's a vast number of public record requests that the clerk's office receives, and Kathy is always ready and willing to pitch in to fulfill the requests in a timely and courteous manner. Kathy is a great representative of the city, not only to residents, but to employees as well. Both Oldsmar residents and employees benefit immensely by participating in Oldsmar Citizens Academy. Kathy coordinates and runs the annual academy, which is an excellent introduction for class participation for service on a city board or committee. Kathy continues to keep in touch with the graduates after the program ends and assists board members in all aspects of the committees they serve. Each year, Kathy creates unique fundraising gift baskets for the city's Relay for Life team. Kathy plans the creations throughout the year, and as one can see from the finished baskets, a lot of time, effort, thought, and creativity goes into making them each themed individual baskets. The city's Relay team benefits in meeting fundraising goals from Kathy's basket creation efforts. I am privileged to nominate Kathy for the first quarter 2020 Merit Award. Kathy? Put my mask on? Should I put my mask on? So before I give her the award, which also comes with a check, so I think that a lot of people don't realize this, but you know, all of us up here are actually employees of the city, technically, which means technically any one of them are eligible for this award, but they're never going to win it. I mean, nor should they. But we could speak also as employees in a sense of, you know, we have a lot of interaction and we're working, and also from the community aspect. And I believe extraordinary is a great description for this lady. When you think about people you work with who are extraordinary, you take part of that word, it's because they always have this way about them of doing something just extra. You don't ask, they just do it extra. And as I look around the room of people who work here in the city, I guarantee you everybody has that Kathy extra story to tell, and probably a lot of them. I personally have a lot of them to tell, but I'm going to tell one short one. And this story goes back almost 15 years, almost 15 years. I was a local business guy, CEO of a public company, and I make this decision to get involved in the local city council because I fell in love with this town. And running, even doing those things, you come into the clerk's office, and back then Lisa Lean was a clerk, and Kathy was there, and it's intimidating, right? I mean, it's a little intimidating. Everybody who's run knows that story. And before I left that office, the very first time I went in to learn how this worked, Lisa was a big help, don't get me wrong, but there was one person in there who just made me feel comfortable. Like I could go do this. Like it wasn't so overwhelming. And so I learned what to do, and what not to do, probably is a better way to say it, the rules. And then when I came back and I was ready to pick up my cards you have to go get signed, once again, they're reassuring, very comforting, encouraging was Kathy. And I started to leave, and she goes, wait, there's one other thing you have to do before I can let you leave here with your cards. And I said, well, what was that? And back then, this was allowed. She said, you may not know this, but I live in the city of Oldsmar, and I'm only going to let you take them if I can sign your very first one. That's the type of person she is. She's always got that little extra that you never expect from her, but it always happens. So congratulations. It's my privilege to present you with the Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengosh Government Award presented to Kathy Horvath for her outstanding service, dedication, and leadership to the City of Oldsmar 2020 first quarter. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm nervous. I prefer to be behind the scenes, as you well know. But this is awesome, and I appreciate it. We have such a great team in the clerk's office. Ann is wonderful, and it's like a dream job. And whenever the budget comes out, this is a secret. The budget comes out, the first thing I do is grab it, open it, make sure my position's still there. Because it really is almost too good to be true. It's just so wonderful. We have such a great team. And we were recently referred to by someone as the happiest department in the city. And on most days, I think that's true. Right, Ann? Thank you.
Good job, Kathy. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kathy.
Chuck.
Oh, thank you.
Aw. So deserved.
Well deserved.
All right, presentation of Homer Brunson Ward Schreckengosh Award for the second quarter will be Chief Jason coming up. Our fire chief.
Chief.
Thank you. All right, so I have the pleasure of awarding the second quarter award. I'll read from the nomination too, but I did print it in larger print, so I'm gonna use that.
Smart.
I wish I would have.
Man, thinking ahead.
So the second quarter award winner is Chris Caberna, standing in the back. So Chris Caberna has been referred to as Special K by the city manager, and rightfully so. I've had the pleasure of working with Chris for 15 years now and witnessed his special talents for all those years working with him. He's not only an excellent example of a professional firefighter for the community we serve, he continues to come through for the department time and time again when items need to be repaired or even constructed. Some examples include, but are certainly not limited to, station repairs such as working on our bay doors, plumbing, electrical, whatever needs to be fixed. He's installed equipment on the apparatus. He's always involved with the design of storing equipment on the apparatus. We try to be prepared for every situation, so with that comes a lot of tools, and it takes a special talent to figure out where to fit all that on the trucks. He's recently repaired our portable fire extinguisher trainer. This allows some real life fire training for the community, and he's done so much more. Recently, not so recently, but back in February, we had a touch truck event. Those that have attended, seen the long line for the fire hose spray onto the prop. Chris, I had a vision for that, but Chris had the, mechanical fortitude to put that together and make it look the way it did. So he's built a great working relationship with local business that has constructed a lot of customized brackets and containers that house some of the equipment that we carry on the department apparatus, and this in turn saves the city money. His mechanical knowledge base and ability to fix just about anything continues to amaze. The ability to perform station equipment repairs helps save the city money and frees up other department members and their time. He's always the first person that comes to mind when something needs to be repaired or when we're considering building something such as that prop, and he makes the department and city better. He simply finds ways to make things better and is more than deserving of this recognition, the reference of Special K. So come on up. Bring your family.
Calm down.
I think I have 6 different videos of Jackson shooting the firehouse prop at the Touch a Truck event. That was so cool.
I do want to say just one more thing that kind of goes along with this is every year Gus Bilirakis does a fire first responder appreciation dinner. And he asks every department in his district to nominate one person for that. This year I asked the employees to kind of come up with that nomination. Every nomination we received was for Chris. So I think that's a great honor to, you know, be recognized by your peers as well. So congratulations. Say anything?
No, she's done with the picture. I was going to talk a long time just to keep her standing, but
Jason, you left out one thing.
What's that?
I was at the firehouse getting ready to do Santa, and he was painting the floor. I said, "Can I go in there and get dressed?" He goes, "Oh yeah, it's dry. Don't worry. Go on in."
Outstanding. Well, congratulations to both y'all. Well deserved. Well deserved. We got some special employees here who work hard and do a good job, and the citizens appreciate it as well. All right, moving on to the agenda, we have nothing under the Community Redevelopment Agency. Next item is a consent docket, which will be announced by our city clerk, Ann Nixon.
Item number 4, approve minutes of the July 21st, 2020 City Council meeting.
I won't ask if there's anyone who wants to pull anything. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moves Gannon. Second Saraki.
Second?
Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thank you. All right, I'm going to do this just because we have guests, and I just assume kind of keep with the social distancing thing. The chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules of the day for the purpose of jumping to item 16.
So moved as to item 16.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a motion by Gannon, seconded by Vice Mayor Norris. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We're going to go to item 16. Under City Council, discuss golf carts and permitted uses. So we've had this discussion probably on and off multiple times over the years, and I was the one who requested this be put on the agenda, in part from some of the feedback that we've gotten from citizens here. You know, I really believe, as crazy as it might sound, that the pandemic maybe even highlighted more what that benefit felt like.
Yeah.
Because you looked around the neighborhood, and even still today, even though a lot of people have been able to go back to work, today you still see more people out just taking a little break, a little ride. They're not always going anywhere other than maybe stopping in their neighbor's driveway and chit-chatting. And I think it's time that we move forward and allow golf carts in the rest of the city, of course, with the restriction of, you know, the county roads and the state roads, which are not permitted on. And so I'll open that up for discussion. Any comments?
Well, as you know, Mayor, can I go first, Mayor? Oh, thank you.
Council member.
As you know, I've been wanting to do Harbor Palms for quite a few years, so this is actually a good thing. And my neighborhood in East Lake Oaks, we've had it now for about 3 years, maybe 4, and there's golf carts all over. So yeah, I definitely would like to see it.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak as the only council member on behalf of the north side. I am definitely in favor of the expanded use as well. I actually was involved prior to being elected as part of the Ordinance Review Committee where this was discussed at length in one of our meetings there. And everybody pretty much was in favor, as once you started picking one section, then it was like, well, why not here and why not there? And Tom, I'm sure will remember, we got into the discussion a little bit about how to word it in terms of the crossings and what streets you can't go down and where there is some opportunity to maybe tackle that later with maybe county roads, but obviously that's outside the scope of what we are currently considering. So I would just like to speak in favor of it as it's been presented to us today.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I would also like to speak in favor of the expanded use. There are several reasons. It gets people outside. It's very community. It's eco-friendly. So you guys all know that I like that. I do have them go by my house quite often, and I have to say that they are very respectful not to go on the bike paths, which I would not like to see. And the only thing I would comment on is I do see several going down St. Pete Drive. So I guess one of these days we're going to have to address that like Councilmember Knapp said. So I'm in favor.
All right. Councilmember Gannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I also am absolutely in favor of expanding golf cart use north of Tampa Road. I think I brought it up a couple of times recently as well, as we all have at different points. Only a couple of bullet points. I think we need to make sure that citizens are very aware that there's a difference between street legal golf carts and regular golf cart usage. I think that we need to kind of make sure folks know that there is a registration process with the city. No big deal. It's real quick, just to make sure. It could be a good way to make sure people know the difference between those types of golf carts and where they can go. I think that people need to be aware that there are enforcement measures if you are riding on a trail or across a state road. Or if you're underage and driving. I think that also needs to be addressed. So while there might be a proliferation, which is great, of more golf carts, that's fantastic. We also have to remember that might necessitate additional enforcement. So just to be aware that the good comes with the bad sometimes. My only other comments and issues are directed toward our current ordinance and any potential amendment to it, in that I can't escape my nature, and I really detest and sort of abhor the listing of individual streets. I would be more in favor of some sort of language stating golf carts are permitted, authorized everywhere within the city limits except where prohibited by existing law, and maybe just name the streets where it's prohibited as opposed to where it's allowed, just because as the community continues to grow, it's inevitable that there might be new streets, and then, okay, that street's not on the list, and it's like, okay, so we gotta amend it again. So just from my perspective, and I, of course, completely defer to our city attorney's guidance and how the ordinance has been enacted in other cities, but that's just a side note. But I am absolutely in favor of perhaps allowing authorizing our city attorney to prepare an ordinance to amend and make golf carts permissible everywhere except otherwise prohibited by law.
Mayor, one more thing.
Sure, go ahead, Councilman
Before you
Strachey.
go, thank you. You brought up a good point, and one of the people that spoke at the beginning, they mentioned they were going to drive their golf cart to Walmart. How would they get there? Because you'd have to go down Limebow, or was that Forest Lakes?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they live around the corner.
Yeah, but they can't go down that street. So what Katie mentioned is we have to make sure that the public knows that there's certain roads they can't go on.
Right.
Well, technically, if they lived over by the school, they could come around through the back.
So there's a back way?
Yeah, through
Might be
Steak and
a
Shake.
little-
Yeah, they could
Oh, there
through
you
there.
go. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
And I'm sure
Pine
that's how
and
they did it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's how they did it. Good
Well, and
answer.
then that's a matter of enforcement, and that's not our job.
Okay.
No. No, we don't get involved in enforcement up here. I'm staring back at the deputy. She's looking at me saying,
Thanks,
thanks. She's smiling behind that.
Mayor, can I
Yes,
add
go
one more
ahead,
thing?
Councilmember Knapp.
Councilmember Gannon just kind of gave me a little bit of an idea in terms of the awareness, as evidenced by the video that was produced earlier. That might be a good opportunity to generate a little bit of content that's pretty easy to distribute to create some of that awareness.
Your video was
Get a
very
couple
good.
people that already have carts and film a little video about
Yeah.
the rules and the registration, and just kind of positively promote it, so.
All right, so there is a consensus, so I do have a question for our city attorney. Now, does this require a new ordinance, or would it be amendment to the existing ordinance?
We would just amend the existing ordinance. We'd take out all the street names. We would say citywide, and then we would beef up the language about not being on or across the state or county road or on the trail or otherwise prohibited by law. So it'll actually shorten that portion of the code up.
All right, very good. All right, so there's a consensus that at the next meeting, we have legal counsel bring back an ordinance for us to start the process. Agreed?
Yes.
All right,
Fantastic.
at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to return to the rules of the day.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion
Aye.
passes. We're back to item number 5, City of Oldsmar. Approve appointment of Howard Steffenmeyer as alternate member of the Board of Adjustment. Howard is not here. As you know, right now, we're not requiring appointments to come as we might normally. As the pandemic passes, we might encourage them to come and visit. I do know Howard pretty well, actually. I know that he's been the Homeowners Association president over at Bay End and wants to get involved. So I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Enthusiastically moved.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve appointment of Matt Clark as alternate board member to the Board of Adjustments. Once again, we're not requiring people to be here, but he has been here before. So the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I've got a motion
Second.
by Vice Mayor Norris, a second by Councilmember Knapp. Discussion. Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7, approve removing Rebecca Fitz from alternate board member to full member of the Code Enforcement Board. The chair will entertain a motion.
So move.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? No, sir. Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, motion passes. Item number 8, approve reappointment. We're just doing a group one here. We're just going to say reappoint the group.
Board, on it, on it.
Approve the reappointment of Ross Roundhouse, Bob Harvey, John Andrew Cabanas and to the planning board. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moves Knapp. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Siraki. Discussion.
All have excellent attendance records.
Yes, they do. They do. You know, I look at that every time.
I do too. I do too.
Because I like to call people out when they're here, like, why'd you miss so many meetings?
No, you don't.
Oh, I have.
You have, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah, I have. All right, sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 9, presentation of Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation Proclamation. And I have asked Councilmember Knapp to present that proclamation for us this evening. Councilmember.
One down.
I know it's the mayor's challenge, but we allow the different council members to present.
Come on, Jonna. You hear me all right through this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we have John up here, Assistant Public Works Director, correct? Okay, I'm going to read this proclamation. It's the Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. Whereas the city of Oldsmar, the region of Tampa Bay, and the state of Florida continue to explore ways to manage residential consumption of water and power and to inspire its residents to care for our natural resources. And whereas cities can engage in efforts to inspire their own communities as well as their neighboring cities to become better environmental stewards. And whereas the 2020 Wyland Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation is a healthy, nonprofit competition for cleaner communities by promoting water use and pollution reduction between our cities. And whereas, with the encouragement of their mayors, residents may register their participation in their city's challenge online by making simple pledges to decrease their water use and to reduce pollution for the period of 1 year, thereby assisting their cities to apply state and federal water conservation strategies and to target mandated reductions. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Knapp, on behalf of Eric Seidel, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, do hereby proclaim August 1st through 31st, 2020 as Water Conservation Month in the City of Oldsmar and call upon all residents to join me in taking an online pledge to conserve our natural resources, dated this 4th day of August, 2020.
Well done.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So this is an important, important challenge we do. We've done it every year. It got moved around this year, of course, because of the pandemic. And our city has done well in this challenge.
Yeah, it's really easy.
So it's a matter of promoting it, going online and going to mywaterpledge.com and picking our city, and they have some good tips in there on how to conserve water.
Yep.
It's a very constructive program, and especially now, we got a lot of folks at home and they're using a lot of water. We all know that. So we might want to give them some ideas about reducing the use of water.
Oh, the irony.
Oh, the irony.
Ah, it screams.
Sometimes I like being mayor, I can't lie. All right, thank you, sir. Good job.
Thank you,
Good
Mayor.
job. Next item on the agenda, city attorney.
So we've got a couple of items tonight. The first is a public hearing. It's the second reading of ordinance 2020-10. I'll read that by title only. Ordinance 2020-10, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, rezoning certain real property described as parcel number 232816 63936-023-0030 from R2 Residential Single Family District to the ROR Residential Office Retail District and providing for the effective date. That was the second final reading of ordinance 2020-10 by title only. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. I'm just going to go ahead and swear everyone in if there is going to be any additional testimony. Anyone that's going to testify on this particular item, if they can stand up, raise their right hand, and be sworn under oath. You swear the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. So Mayor, if you wanted to, if there were any additional information or requests, this is a second hearing on this. We can have a presentation by.
Does anybody have any questions for staff? I don't believe so at this
I don't,
point.
no.
Okay, so I don't think she needs to get sworn in. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Was the applicant wish to speak?
He can if he wants.
Only if needed. Does anyone have any questions of the applicant? No, Mayor. Did you get that yard cleaned up? Yes, I did. All right, that was a good answer. All right, at this time, I'll close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I would like to make a comment, Mayor.
Go right ahead, Vice Mayor.
I would just like to make it clear that I am not against the proposed project. I think the triplex will be nice. My no vote is been reflective of my fear of future domino effect of more properties being added, the next property applying in how many ever years in the next property, and it's only against a domino effect. I just wanted to make that clear.
All right, very well, for the record. Any other comments?
I just want to say, Mayor, I'm looking forward to seeing that building go away and a new building built.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Anyone else? All right, sensing you're ready to vote, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Norris?
Vice Mayor?
No.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-10, rezoning 507 South Bayview Boulevard, rezoning from R2 to ROR, is adopted with 4 votes for and 1 against. Vice Mayor Norris dissenting.
Very good. Item number 11.
This is a public hearing and first reading of ordinance 2020-09. I'll read that by title only. Ordinance 2020-09, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending section 3.7.2, permitted uses of the Town Center Development Code to increase the density for a hotel use in the Town Center Commercial Residential TCCR zoning district and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 2020-09 by title only.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Do we have a report from staff?
Marie, are you going to?
Does anybody have any questions for staff?
No, Mayor.
Then I would request one at this point. Is there anybody from the public wishing to speak? I will close the public hearing. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to
So
approve.
moved.
I have a motion by Siraki. Second?
Second.
Second by Knapp. Discussion. Sensing you're ready to vote, roll call, please.
Mayor Norris?
Yes.
Councilmember Saraki?
Yes.
Councilmember Knapp?
Yes.
Councilmember Gannon?
Yes.
Mayor Seidel?
Yes.
First reading of ordinance 2020-09, amending permitted uses of the Town Center Development Code to increase the density for hotel use in the Town Center Commercial Residential Zoning District passes with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Item number 12.
Thank you. Item number 12 is adopt resolution 2020-24. I'll read that by title only as well. Resolution 2020-24, resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, ratifying Executive Order 2020-35, which provides for the extension of the COVID-19 state of emergency through July 27, 2020. Ratifying Executive Order 2020-36, which provides for the extension of the COVID-19 state of emergency through August 3rd, 2020, and providing for an effective date hereof. That was reading of resolution 2020-24 by title only.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion from Gannon. Second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Discussion. Sensing you're ready to vote? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. City Manager, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 13, we have a couple of purchasing items tonight. Item 13 is request council approval to award bid 2020-005, invitation to bid to Keystone Excavators Incorporated for the construction of Burbank Road Extension for an amount not to exceed $1,170,116.20. A little background. The Burbank Road Extension Project, also known as the Douglas Burbank Road Extension in Oldsmar, Phase 1 involves the construction of Burbank Road from Tampa Road, crossing through the CSX Transportation Railroad right-of-way to Douglas Road. In addition to the roadway, the project includes curb and gutter, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and a 10-foot wide pedestrian trail and sidewalk. The construction of this project is principally funded through a $1.5 million State Economic Development Transportation Fund grant. The engineer record that prepared the construction plans is George F. Young, and DRMP Incorporated will be providing CEI, which is also known as Construction Engineering Inspection Services. Staff recommends the award of the contract 2020-005 ITB to Keystone Excavators in an amount not to exceed $1,170,116.20.
All right. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moves. Knapp. Second?
Katie did.
Katie. All right, Gannon. Discussion. You're ready to vote. Let's get this thing done.
Yes.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14 is approved work order number 8 to RFQ 2018-007 for Ardura Group Incorporated, formerly known as King Engineering Associates Incorporated, to provide professional engineering services for Harbor Palms Phase 2 design and bidding. The Harbor Palms subdivision is comprised of approximately 600 homes. Infrastructure improvements are required throughout the neighborhood. Existing utilities are more than 40 years old. Maintaining the infrastructure is increasingly expensive, impacting other aspects of the neighborhood and affecting the efficiency of city repair staff in both the distribution, collections, and streets divisions. Infrastructure improvements will include new water distribution piping with new individual service connections to replace the existing substandard piping, touch read meters for all residential services, sidewalk and roadway work, replacement or repairs, depending on the area, drainage system upgrades, and sewer pipelining to extend the life of the existing collection system. Phase 1 encompassed approximately 160 homes in the area from Elmwood Drive south to Maple Leaf Boulevard and from Lemonwood Drive east to the East Lake Oaks subdivision boundary. Construction of Phase 1 began in July 2019 and is approaching completion. Through the course of the construction, a number of items were identified to improve the remaining construction contracts. These design clarifications have prompted a need to update the plans as well as prepare the contract bid documents for the next phase to ensure the best final constructed product with as little impact to residents as possible during construction. Ardura is a utilities engineering consultant under contract with the city through the General Engineering Services Contract RFQ 2018-007. Work order number 8 of this contract consists of preparing the design and permitting updates, technical specifications production, and providing services during bidding for the next construction phase of the Harbor Palms Infrastructure Improvement Capital Improvement Project. Final bid documents will be delivered to the city within 160 days of the notice to proceed. The budgetary impact will be a total fee of not to exceed $97,079. Funding is available in the fiscal year 1920 capital budget in 3 different funds: the Water Sewer Operating Fund, Capital Improvement Fund, and the Stormwater Operating Fund, and staff recommends approval.
Outstanding. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
So moved, Siraki. I got a second from Gannon. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Knapp?
I have a question for the city manager. Al, earlier we spoke about, there's a couple sections that were mentioned about milling and, where's the words again, Senior, sorry. Milling and overlaying. Did we determine if that was in the cul-de-sacs, that'll be performed, or?
I have not had the chance to speak to Nan. She's not here, but if
Okay.
Daniel or Jonna could weigh in, I'd appreciate it. Do either of you know the answer to that? What Councilmember Knapp had noticed was that in some parts of the description, there were complete reconstruction services to be part of the document, and in other cases, there was what appeared to be something less than total reconstruction. By design, specified in the work order. Maybe Daniel will tell us why.
That's something that will be evaluated in this effort, so.
Very good. Any other questions?
No, sir.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I bet.
My
Hey, you know, look, we're investing more money into this city right now in infrastructure than I can remember in a very long time. And that will serve our citizens well long-term. And, you know, some of these other councils would have done that. We wouldn't have to. Oh, he already left, so that's not.
I don't know if you.
Mayor Beavis was here. I meant to recognize him earlier.
Oh.
But
I
he
don't know if
left.
you've driven down, but the phase 1 that's done is beautiful.
Oh, yes.
It's gorgeous.
Increases the property
And I've
values.
noticed some of the neighbors are actually improving their front yards and cleaning everything up, and it's looking wonderful.
That's great.
That's great to
All right,
hear.
since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anything else, sir?
Thank you, sir.
That's all you got. All right, city clerk.
Item number 15, adopt resolution 2020-20, setting the qualifying period for the March 9, 2021 municipal election to begin September 1st, 2020 and end October 2nd, 2020. Dates for the qualifying period are determined by the date council adopts the final ballot language resolution. Usually the resolution comes before council at the first meeting in December. For the March 9, 2021 municipal election, the final ballot language resolution is scheduled for the October 20, 2020 council meeting. This way, the qualifying period can end before the supervisor of elections receives absentee ballots for the November presidential election. The supervisor election personnel who verify signatures on petition cards also verify signatures on absentee ballots. Moving the qualifying period should help reduce potential processing delays for the petition cards and should help with the supervisor election workload at a peak time during the November presidential election. I'll read Resolution 2020-20 by title only. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, establishing the candidate qualifying period for the March 9, 2021 municipal election and the date when the City Council will adopt the ballot language resolution and providing for an effective date hereof.
Very good. Anyone think this is important? Oh, it's always nice not to be in that cycle. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor, seconded by Gannon. Any discussion? Since you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Excellent. Next, anything else, City Clerk?
That's all I have.
All right, excellent. Next item on the agenda, City Council, item 16 we covered earlier. Item 17, schedule work session on town center capital improvements. I'm going to defer to the city manager and see if there was a consensus on a date.
Well, it appeared that the 19th was possible for everybody, but most urgent for Councilmember Gannon. Is that accurate?
Most preferred, yes.
Most preferred. Everybody else was flexible, and you had some preferences, but
they just got shot down.
well, we'd like to have everybody there if at all possible.
Well, I will go ahead and make it on the 19th, just to
Thanks.
accommodate our council member over there.
I really appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right, so that was on the night, no problem. That was on the 19th?
19th at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. All right, we got her set. All right, item number 18, approved tentative agenda for August 18, 2020. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the tentative agenda? Anybody wish to add anything? The chair would like to request that we approve the tentative agenda with the following amendments. Request council approval to waive bid requirements to purchase variable frequency drives for the pumps at the reverse osmosis water treatment plant. Next item, approve work order to King Engineering Associates for the water reclamation facility administration control building conceptual design.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion to accept as amended. I have a motion by Gannon, seconded by Saraki. Any discussion? Sensing you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Council comments. All right, I'm going to start with the vice mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. First off, I would like to express my gratitude for everyone understanding that my attendance lately has been via telephone. COVID-19 is more dangerous to some, and this includes myself and my son. But I do feel much better that the numbers are coming down. And Mayor, I'm really happy to hear you say earlier that you had suggested that everyone wears their masks unless they're speaking. That was one of the things that scared me. And I'm not the mask police, so I can't tell people to wear their masks. So I'm looking forward to the face mask challenge. That's a great idea. And so anyway, first off, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for understanding. It's an honor to serve on this council, and I take my duties to all the citizens very seriously, so thank you.
You're welcome.
The next thing I'd like to say is happy birthday, Miss Felicia. You are an amazing individual, and we're lucky to have you. I know you just had a big birthday. And
29, right? Was it 20? Oh,
yeah.
no.
Forever 29. And I just wanted to comment on the budget workshop, even though I was there via telephone, and I have to say that the staff did such an excellent job of answering questions before I even had to ask them. I had a list of page numbers, and I was going to ask questions, but in there, I think they anticipated questions from all of us because most of my questions were all answered in the staff presentations. And I thought that it was a very productive budget workshop. And I have to say, 200 and something pages was broken up, of numbers. So it's all very detailed and it's serious. I mean, we're stewards of taxpayer dollars. That's a serious thing. But this year they put so many beautiful artworks. I mean, the graphics were beautiful and the winners of the photography contest. So it's like you're going through line by line and number by number and everything else. And then you're like bug-eyed. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's this beautiful photograph or a beautiful work of art. So I just wanted to say that was very much appreciated. And thank you all very much. And I hope to see you guys sooner rather than later. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. And I'll say this, I believe that it's gone much better, much smoother the last couple times that you were calling in. So I appreciate the extra effort too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Councilmember Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention. I'm really excited about the face mask challenge. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's entries. I thought your video was fantastic. And in general, I really want to encourage people, all the millions listening, but if you see somebody, commenting or sharing a City of Oldsmar government, the official page on Facebook or on any other social media platform, go ahead and give it a like, give it a thumbs up, encourage people to share that official information. You might have seen recently, for example, that the city was promoting a scavenger hunt in the parks for kids. So I shared it to the Oldsmar Moms page so that people looking for something to do with their young kids can, find a lot of great information and resources on our city Facebook page. So if you don't already follow it, make sure you do. And if you see somebody share it, give it a like. Give it a like, because that always promotes that the visibility of that post. I also wanted to comment on the staff's presentation of the budget last week. It was fantastic. It was really remarkable, and I commend the department heads and the city manager for finding ways to keep our operating costs tight, and, for the sacrifices that they had to make and that the city manager the decisions that he had to make in order to anticipate some possible difficulties financially from COVID-19. And the entire morning was very well organized. The social distancing and the preparedness of everyone to participate was evident. Everyone was ready to answer questions, the few that weren't answered by the presentation itself. It was absolutely fantastic. I also liked including the capital improvement discussion contemporaneously from the left side of the page, with the rest of the budget at the same time. I think that was prudent, because then you don't have to revisit the operating issues at this, a separate workshop. So my mucho kudos to the staff for and our city manager, and of course to Ann and Kathy in the clerk's office for serving us delicious food. So anyhow, that was all I have for tonight, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good. Yeah, I think they did a really good job. The one comment that I'll wait to my comments. All right.
It's almost your turn anyway.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, aren't we done? No, excuse me, Councilmember Siraki.
Oh, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
I don't want to go, I don't want to repeat everything what Linda and Katie said, but the budget meeting was great. And I have to tell you what I liked really, the lunch we had after right here. I mean, I thought that was really nice. It was very special.
Yeah, we didn't talk any city
No,
business.
it was just- there was
We
a-
just we hadn't seen each other, so we all kind of sat in our spaces,
Social
ate our
distance.
sandwich, and just,
It was a.
how's
it
the
was a-
family?
Yeah.
How's your mom and them?
All right, the other thing I want to say is the video that you did, Mayor, on the face mask, I thought was excellent. Great job.
Well, thank you.
And I did get the email. I guess I'm the third week. I need to get some face masks. I'm not really good at that. I'm using these, and I'm kind of, not really a big face mask guy.
Hey, meet the challenge, man.
I know, I am. I'm getting ready. I saw the one you had today when you walked in, so I'm getting some ideas, and I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready for the challenge.
Good.
I'm looking forward to the Tidal Wave Car Wash. Is it still on for Thursday, Felicia?
Good.
All right, it's looking good. That thing is beautiful. Did you drive by Tampa Road? You see the fountain?
Oh, yes.
Beautiful, very nice. Last thing I want to tell the council is I did my 5-minute presentation, and I had 6 questions from the Florida League of Cities Nominating Committee on Friday. The meeting started at 11:30. I was supposed to go on at 2:30. I didn't go on until 4:30. They were a little behind because of, I guess, Zoom, so many people. It went well. I don't know what's going to happen. The actual decision will be made on August 14th. That's the day Andrew will be representing the city. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not sure what's going to happen, Mayor, but no matter what happens, I made it very clear that I was there to support the city of Oldsmar, because I'm the first council member that's ever been on that board in 4 years.
Yeah.
And, Ransom Eli Olds had some dreams and goals about this city. And the past council members, mayors of the city, they've built an amazing city. So I told them I would be honored to be their first vice president for the Florida League. And one of the questions they asked me was, would you be willing to travel for the next 2 years? And I thought, well, yeah, but how are we going to travel when we can't really because of the thing? But I would be willing to travel for the city of Oldsmar and take some time off at work and represent our city and the Florida League. So I just wanted to bring that up. So August 14th, the date. Your prayers will be welcome. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hey, good luck, sir. Good luck. We're proud of you no matter the outcome. So just be in that position.
Great learning experience. Wow, amazing.
Very good. Councilmember Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Dan, good luck, and I'm looking forward to participating in the business conference as the voting delegate on the 14th. I'm sure it will be a much different experience than the rest of our council here has experienced thus far because it will be via Zoom. So not all much different than some of the meetings we had, but the more people, as obviously you experienced, Dan, can kind of slow things down as the Zoom participants increase.
Right.
Secondly, I'm definitely looking forward to the Mass Challenge. Mayor, I don't know if I'll be able to produce a video as good as you did. That was top notch, but I'm looking forward to that challenge and to expressing my week's challenge. And finally, I just had a thought because at work, pickleball has taken over. And I know you have received some invitations and overtures to get out on the courts. So I would say at some point in the future when things kind of settle down and somewhat larger groups are permitted or, okay to deal with, that maybe we get out on the courts at some point, either indoors at Cypress Forest or out over at Bicentennial and get out there and play with some residents at some point.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a blast. At first you're like, and then
Vice
you get
Mayor,
into it.
Vice Mayor, you up for that?
Oh, I had to take myself off mute. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know how to play pickleball.
You're not the only one.
I didn't either until about 2 weeks ago. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank
All right.
If it's outdoors, I'm game. I don't know if I want to
Maybe
be
when it's
indoors
cooler.
doing a sport.
Well, maybe when it cools down. Yeah, maybe when it cools down. All right, very good. All right, I have a few items, and some are pretty important items. So let me just say this about the workshop. I thought everyone did a good job. The only thing in retrospect, the only thing that I did not like about the way we did the capital part of the budget, and I didn't think about this at the time, I did later, and that is maybe in the future, when we go to the capital budget and the 6-year rolling plan, the one thing we did not really look at is, do we have everything in the spot that we want within that 6 years, right? Because that's not something we really did, and sometimes that can be helpful. I always kind of think that there's another word for year 6, which is like never. But in any event, I thought the staff was very well prepared. I appreciate the hard work, and I also appreciate the hard work of our council being prepared. I've sat in these things before where it was very evident that it was the first time that anybody looked at it. And to me, that it just was always disgraceful when that happened. And they were good council people, but sometimes they didn't prepare. And so I just wanted to make a point of noting that. I do think, maybe next item, I do think that we should take a look at a future agenda item regarding calling in, right? And the reason I say this is because, now let's hope that the pandemic doesn't last real long, and this is an issue that goes away all by itself. It heals itself. Pardon the humor. But there are some challenges. We're required to have a quorum present in order to enable somebody to call in, right? So there has to be a quorum in person. And future councils could find themselves in a position of, okay, well, who's the two going to be? It could be that kind of situation. And I believe that we should consider some rules for it. And for that matter, even if they're rules that maybe we vote that they take effect in 2021. I'm not necessarily looking to hammer down at where we're at right now, but I do think we have a responsibility to address that so everybody knows that in the future. And so tonight's not the night to do that, but I'm probably going to ask in the future that we make that an agenda item that we can consider. Hey, I had a very nice conversation today with Julie Marcus, who's our supervisor of elections. And she, if you hadn't heard, the supervisor's office just had a pretty big ruling in their favor with the courts, but it wasn't about that. It was some other stuff that we were talking about. And one of the things that she mentioned, as well as I was on a conference call today with Gus Bilirakis, our congressman, and our Commissioner Eggers, that the Chamber's trustees met. And there was an overriding theme, and that is that really making sure folks know that here in Pinellas County, voting by mail is very different from voting by mail in some of the more controversial places that you hear about it being discussed. We've been doing it for years.
Right.
And I think the concern, and I'm not getting into politics here, but the concern in some areas is trying to do it for the first time on a mass scale where it's just mailed out in the middle of a presidential election, could be very problematic. That's not the case for us here in Pinellas County. We've been doing vote by mail since 2008. It's been a long time. We have a process. There are a lot of little things that we have built into our process, such as, they won't mail, you have to call in to request a ballot. B, they won't send a ballot to an address that's not part of your voter registration ID. They will not forward, the post office will not forward a ballot that's mailed out. They're required to return it. They go through a signature comparison process. And so they have equipment that is geared for assisting them in counting the votes that come back in a very organized way. So it is safe to vote by mail here in Pinellas County. And I could tell you personally, I've been doing it for years, because it used to be I never knew where I would be when their elections came. And so I just wanted to make a point of mentioning that. Oldsmar Face-Off Challenge. I have to give credit to Felicia, to Mark, and Deb for making me look so good in that video. Honestly, I was very pleased when I saw it, but we had a lot of fun making it. And so have all of you yet reached out and confirmed a time to go in and do your videos?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna ask that you try to do that sooner than later. And the reason for that is because they have the room set up, and it's in the kids' room at the library. And so they probably want to get used to that room back. And since they got it set up, it would be good if you could try to get in there and pre-record your message. And so I'd ask that you do that. And I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a fun challenge.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn my attention to a little bit more serious and important things for us as a council. Katie asked during the budget workshop where we were at on signing the executive order to end the shutoff for non-payments on our utility, water in particular. It's my intent to sign that tomorrow. I haven't signed it, just so you know, but I did have it drafted, and I think it's been circulated. But before I signed it, I wanted to have a little bit of discussion about it so that we're all aware of the potential problems that it's going to create for us. And I have a suggestion. It's a pretty bold one, but I do it based on what I see some others doing in Pinellas County in particular, something that we've held back on doing. Number one, I'd like to know that the council supports me ending that executive order, not a vote. You would vote and ratify it later, but I'm just looking for consensus that we believe that it is time to sign that executive order that ends that ability for the utility department to not turn people, ends the ability for automatic shut-off for non-payment. You're in agreement, Gannon?
You have my support, and it has been my understanding that it's always been the practice of our utilities department to make case-by-case determinations if there are certain difficulties in paying. I encourage citizens to keep in contact with the city, but I think that the different utilities in our area are moving in the same direction. And it becomes a question of what can the city afford to keep doing? And it's important to be a steward of taxpayers' dollars, how they are collected, as well as how they are spent. And in this instance, I feel that we have reached that tipping point where we need to make a decision about collecting it. So you do have my support.
Nat?
I would just have a question for this, maybe if the city manager might have the answer. Has the rate at which people have maybe begun not paying for bills, has that seen an increase, decrease, or has it about stayed the same?
I think it's steadily increased. There's 358 accounts that are in unpaid status. We're approaching about $105,000 past due. That does not include what we've waived in penalties because of the executive order. So, but that hasn't kind of tailored. It tends to be focused on the people that have not paid it from the start, have continued not to pay it.
Sure.
There's not a lot of new accounts. There's not a significantly less number. It's been pretty consistent.
Okay. I mean, that would be my only concern is it getting worse or is it getting better? But I would be in support of that, just with being willing to work with people on a case-by-case basis in order to kind of help get them over that burden that they're facing right now.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
I actually agree. From everything that I've read and everything that people that you and the city manager and the assistant city manager have answered those questions in the past, it seems like we are trying to work with every single one case by case. And I do have faith that you have spoken to them about it in Public Works, so I am in agreement.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Shraki.
Thank you, Mayor. I definitely support you and on this endeavor, and I believe that the city employees will take care of it, and I think they'll do an excellent job in working with the residents to resolve if there's any issues. I think it's going to be fine.
All right. So it's my intent to sign it, but I really wanted to see how everybody felt because I don't believe it was a time for us to get into it at the budget workshop. Tonight's the night to do that, and so, but I do appreciate you bringing that up. And I said at the workshop, and let me reiterate it, there is a new, as you all probably know, that Pinellas Cares has a new program, or they revised the phase 1, their phase 2, which makes it much easier for people to qualify, okay? And so certainly, you know, we need to promote that so that folks know, because it takes some time just because they're overwhelmed in that program for approvals. We also have the issue, which we cannot deny is an issue to work through, of the estimating of the water bills. I have no doubt that folks have used the water. I think what has transpired is people underestimate how much water they use, especially when they are stuck at home. Because during that period, you know, think about it. You go out to a restaurant, how much water do you use of the restaurants? They wash your dishes, you know, they cook your food, you use their restroom, you wash your hands, hopefully you wash your hands. But, you know, it adds up a lot, and then everybody's home. And so I don't think that the water bills are incorrect. I don't believe that. But there's this problem that is sitting there that I believe that we're going to be facing. And that is that we will have a lot of citizens who will not have the ability to pay their bill. And I think that's an alarming concern. You know, for those who are tracking what's going on in DC, and you know, even Congressman Bill Arakis said it today. He thinks they're still very far apart. You know, the numbers are staggeringly far apart. And so even the relief that was there, which is now gone, whether we like this or not, this is at our doorstep, okay? And it's going to become an issue for us. And while I am a believer that it is time for us, because we have, you know, we have only so much capacity as a city. $100,000 is a lot of money to this city. Having said that, I think we should consider taking some money from our emergency reserve. We have $250,000 that we put in there. That was not ad valorem tax dollars. It was reimbursement from FEMA. And I think that we should consider taking $100,000 of it to use as some kind of relief program. Let the staff work on what they think makes sense. We would then go to Pinellas County, and there is no guarantee, but I will tell you, Commissioner Egger said it today, County Administrator Burton said it as well, that as they go through the funding that they have, that they received in federal money, so they received $170 million. I think they've only given out 30. It's been unbelievably low number. That money, as it stands right now, has to be gone before the end of the year. It goes back to the federal government. What Barry Burton what the administrator has said to the city managers as well as some of the mayors is that it is his intent that as we get towards the end, that they would look to make reimbursement money possible from that fund back to the cities for expenses they incurred. It is not a guarantee, but it sounds very probable, right? At the same time, Congressman Bilirakis said today that he believes whatever comes out of Washington will include funds that go directly to cities who have incurred expenses. And so we're in a state of emergency and have been for months now. This is not, some kind of half-baked scenario. I believe that we're going to have a large number of people who get shut off who do not have the ability to pay. And it's going to become our problem. And it's going to become it very quickly. And, hopefully this problem comes to an end sooner than we can expect. But I think it's reasonable at this point to think it's going to go on for a little bit. And, if that's not a good use of emergency funds, I'm not sure what is. And I would say that I would ask if there is a consensus to direct staff to look at a potential program, to come back, make it a new agenda item for us to look at the next council meeting. As a point of reference, the standing state of emergency does allow for the mayor under executive order to do an appropriations. That's not my intent, but what I'm saying is there's a reason for it. And so it offers up a couple opportunities if we go in that direction. One, it's a potential solution for some of the direction of finding a direction to resolve some of the estimated billing issues. It also becomes a possibility for us to have a kind of emergency effort there, a safety net. And I would say that probably one of the conditions of a grant might be, have you applied to Pinellas Cares? What is your number? Because when they issue that money, they don't send the consumer a check, they send it to their utility company. And so the ability to recoup, I'm just saying we have to be prepared for the worst because I believe it's coming. And that's going to be on our doorstep. And I don't know about y'all, but it's problematic when our neighbors start having to live without water. And staff can only create payment plans if someone has money to pay. And I'm not convinced that the federal government, there's that interruption of that extra money, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, that's not for me to debate. I just know this, we've got a problem that's gonna be on our doorstep by the end of this month. And it's gonna be pretty big. And so if we don't plan for that, that's a problem. I will also say that other cities have done this. You know, they've done it, and I don't know if they had money, you know, socked away even. They found a way to do it. Tarpon's done it. Seminole's done, not specific to what I'm talking about with utility bills, but they've done some relief work, and it's been those kinds of numbers. You know, it's been six-figure type number. Largo's done it. You know, we've sat back, that money's been sitting there, you look at it, and all along, you know, I've had this discussion with Al and Felicia, no, not yet. You know, let's not touch that, because I don't think any of us would have ever imagined that we could be looking at down the barrel of this gun that I really believe we're looking at a big problem. And so I put that out there, and if there is a consensus to ask staff to go do that, to bring it back to the next meeting. And if there's not, I'm going to sign the executive order tomorrow. And, you know, that problem is going to be on our doorstep, though. And if this isn't an emergency, I don't know what the hell it is, quite honestly. I don't know what we're waiting for. All right, Vice Mayor, comments.
Are you asking for comments, Mayor?
Sure, I'm asking for consensus on that and comment with it, absolutely.
Okay, I really think that's a great idea, and I'm glad that we've got something in the works. So I do have a question. Is there a way to get the 300 some odd people that are delinquent the information regarding them being able to individually apply for the CARES Act? Because what I think I understand of what you're saying is to take some of that of our contingency fund to create a fund for people that can't pay when you sign this as executive orders and water starts to get shut off. So in order for water not to get shut off, have this relief fund for those residents. Is that did I understand that correctly?
Essentially, yes. I mean, I would leave it to staff to really look at what they think might be the best way to deploy this, for lack of a better word.
Right, so that we can make sure that the people that really need it get it, and not people that are trying to take advantage. We don't want that to happen. And then the money that Pinellas County, if they reimbursed us, then that would go back into our emergency fund. Is that what would happen?
I think that would probably be what the intent is, but once again, I would defer that to staff's recommendations.
Okay, well, you've got consensus from me, and just a little fun fact, a statement that you made, that you do believe that the increase in water usage, that is the water that they used. I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's directly tied to the toilet paper shortages. People don't realize that there's different supply chains for commercial TP and residential TP. And with everybody being at home, flushing their toilets 10 times, 20 times more instead of being at work or whatever, we are using more water. Well, not those of us that don't work outside of our homes, but most people are using more water. They just don't realize it, just like you said. So I'm fully behind you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Saraki.
Yep, Mayor, I kind of agree with you, yes. I would like to see what staff comes up with and gets back to us on your idea.
Councilmember Knapp.
I would agree as well. My question, I mean, hearing the number, and it's like over 300 accounts, that's accounts, not people, that could add up to close to maybe 1,000 people that were at risk of shutting off their water. I just wonder if there's any benefit or risk for delaying the signing of the executive order until the ducks are in a row for knowing that assistance plan, whatever the structure of it is, not saying, delay it a month, but knowing for sure that we have things lined up. And I'm saying, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if there's a better way, one route or another, kind of assembling that plan, but I'm in favor.
That's a good point. It's my intent to sign the executive order tomorrow, though, okay? Because because without us doing some kind, we cannot continue to have accounts receivables growing like this, okay? Without there being a mechanism that is different. I said this to the city manager and the assistant city manager the other day. I said, you know, here's a lesson in this. If I was to be in this position all over again, which God willing, I hope I never am, but I would do something very different. I would jump out there with the executive order and do an allocation of like $50,000 and never sign the non-shut-off order and say, when that money's out, that money's out, and limit our exposure. And if we wanted to extend that, at that point, council would be reactivated.
Yes.
Where we could make that decision.
Yeah.
Only because we were wise. We were wise and stuck that money into a reserve fund specifically. And so I would have done that differently, but shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know. But here we are. But we're still thinking ahead, I think. So, Councilmember Gannon.
So my understanding is that,
Speak louder, I'm not sure if
oh,
she
I'm so
can.
sorry. My understanding from what you explained is that we would ask staff to determine the feasibility of financially and logistically administering a sort of Oldsmar Cares sort of program, not Oldsmar Cares proper, but Oldsmar specific program with specific qualifications and disqualifications for those who could apply and receive this grant. I'm assuming it's a grant, not a loan. And there would be specific criteria which we could have staff determine, and upon review of these applications, it would either be granted or not up to a specific amount, or we're going to leave the details to staff.
I would leave the details to staff.
So you have my consensus to do the research. My only thought is that perhaps there's something we might not be thinking of, and maybe there's some other way to structure it, or a different methodology by which we could provide the same or similar relief to our citizens. So I don't want to limit ourselves or our staff to considering this particular method of implementing it. If there's some other way to do it, I just didn't want my consensus to be limited to only this
Sure, yeah.
this sole idea. I am very interested in the statistical and financial information for maybe an estimate of how many people this really is going to affect and immediately versus how many have always been delinquent and are still delinquent and will likely continue to be. You know, I want to know, how many people do we really anticipate would apply for this kind of program? You know, I want to know about the single moms or the older retired folks who literally do not have the cash to make the payments, just as you described. That's the folks that I'm interested in helping, not anyone who is simply deciding, Oldsmar said they're not shutting anything off as of, April, so I just won't pay it until they make me pay it again. That's what I'm really interested in, that statistical information as to who it would help, and if that sum, the $100,000, is adequate, and a potential cost for implementing any kind of program like you've described, because it of course would require staff time and review time, and the speed at which we could do it would also be, of course, important. But I am very interested in the information. I think it is incredibly important, and I agree with you that it is very real. But we need a solution, just as you said, that is sustainable for the city, helps the right people, and anticipates, that sort of future moment where we're like, oh, we should have done it that way. I don't want unfortunately, the speed that we need it. I just don't want it to be eaten up by the efficacy You know, I want there to be the intended effect. So let's do it. If we're going to do it right and really look at it. Don't rush it just for the sake of rushing it. I want to make sure that we can follow the numbers, because I believe that data is available to us very clearly.
I hope that it is. I would not bet 100% that it is in terms of precisely knowing. You know, if there's one thing that I've heard, and I've spent a lot of time understanding Pinellas Cares. I really have. As a matter of fact, I mentioned this the other day, really encouraged, and they've gone through the first meeting. I'm not sure where they're at this moment. Oldsmar Cares to become one of their paid navigators, right? And the significance of that is they're already dealing with people they're trying to help get through that program, because they're sending me applicants that have fallen into nowhere, and I reach out to Barry Burton and we get this contact, so now we have a great contact there. And I'm like, why aren't you guys get a direct contact? Maybe you have the ability. In any event, one of the things that you just have to appreciate, that the more complicated that they made that program in the beginning, the less effective it was.
True.
And it's part of the reason they have the backlog they have today, because they have so many started applications. They're constantly calling and following up with no response. And because the people, there's these catch-22s, right, where businesses have closed, and originally they were requiring a letter from their employer saying that they're no longer employed. The business is closed. They can't get a letter. I mean, these little, and so what I would say, I appreciate and agree with what you're saying in terms of let's do everything we can to make sure we're helping the people who need it, right? But there is going to be a reality check that we're all going to have to be comfortable with, is that there are going to be people who go through that, if it's approved, if it's done, that, game the system, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
And the question that becomes, I always accept there's a few bad pennies and a handful of change just because the rest of the coins are good. I don't know. I just made that up, by the way.
But I think we can implement some kind of way to track how many times the person applies for such a grant, or how many months it goes on, or what have you, to kind of,
Well, and I don't underestimate, frankly, and I would not have brought this up if I did not have a discussion with our city manager and assistant city manager first, okay? And I would not bring this up without that, because I don't underestimate what this potentially means in terms of workload for our staff.
Yeah.
Once again, the flip side of that is there is going to be a boatload of work trying to work with everybody to take payments and not shutting off hundreds of citizens, potentially affecting hundreds of citizens, with no options. And so, I'm really hopeful that if this comes together and we approve this up here, that the leverage starts to become, in order to qualify, you have to be able to give us your claim number for Pinellas Cares.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they get approved, the check gets sent directly to us.
Yeah.
So now there's probably an accounting nightmare there. I understand that, but we're in those times.
And we have an incredible staff.
We
And
do.
If there's a way to figure it out.
We do, and
they will.
listen, I'm going to say this. I didn't say it at the budget meeting because I didn't want staff to feel like I was questioning the increases that we're giving them. I will say this so that maybe they know this. I've been participating on a conference call with Commissioner Eggers and the mayors from the North counties, starting at Clearwater and up. And all of them are either doing, while they're talking budgets, they're all freezing any increases to their staff. They're And some are talking about whether or not they're going to implement pay cuts. And I'm like, we're not in our city. You know, we're going to find a way to pay our staff.
That's a
You
proud
know,
moment.
and so, in any event, I'm going on and on when I don't need to. All right, so we do have a consensus, so I'm going to direct staff and ask that they go look into this. Woo! All right, y'all, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion, a second, does not require a vote, we are adjourned.